Today I'm going to be speaking about why people set goals and still fail. So all of us set goals. I have set some goals, I achieved some of them, and I did not achieve some. And I ask myself, okay, why did I not achieve some? Why did I achieve some? So we are going to just, in today's session, try to go over what are goals, why do people fail, what are effective methods of setting goals, and then when you set those goals, what are some common pitfalls that you need to be aware of and avoid, and then what exactly to do in practice. So beyond the theory and talk and everything, what can you do immediately after this webinar to help you set goals that would change your life? And then we'll have a brief conclusion, summary of everything we've discussed, and I'll take questions. So let's get started. So New Year resolution success rate. What do you guys think? You can type in the chat. So I'm actually looking at the chat. So what do you guys think? How successful is New Year resolutions? Do you think it's very successful? You made some New Year resolution last year, the year before. How successful were you? Do you think it's 50% successful or 40% or 100%? You got all your... So you can type whatever in the chat too. I know you're following. 70%. Nice. Okay. 50%. So it's as good as flipping a coin. All right. Nice. Okay, so let's see what research and statistics shows. Okay. Close. So after 1 week, only 77% of people... Suleiman, do you want to say something? Okay. After 1 week, only 77% of people still keep to their New resolution. By 1 month, it drops to 55%. In 3 months' time, it drops to 43%. In 6 months, just 40% of people still try to achieve their New Year resolution. And some people even extend the New Year resolution and repeat it next year. Okay, I'm not going to do anything new. Let me just try to achieve what I failed to achieve last year. And the number still goes down. Even if you give people 2 years, there's only 19% of people still stick to their New Year resolution. So these statistics, it tells us that setting the goal is not the problem. There must be some other problem that causes us to fail. And that's the question we are all trying to answer. I guess you've all thought about it. Like I said, I was going to do this thing. 1 month has passed, I've not done it. Or 6 months, or the whole year is over and I didn't achieve it. So we're going to look at why do people fail, the most common reasons. But before then, let's go to Slido. So you can see the results coming in. I don't set goals at all. That's fine. Yeah, it's good that you're here today. All right. Okay, great. Indiscipline, fear, no clear goals. Cool. Laziness / resist. You can see that there are some common reasons there already. So we are going to look at I looked at some research documents based on psychology, based on people's willingness. What are the common factors? And the most predominant factor that influences why people fail at their goals is having vague goals. And what does that mean? It means you just set a goal that is not clear. It's not measurable. You cannot even tell when you are successful at the goal. So it feels like you're just going in so many directions and you don't know what exactly to do. Like, what am I trying to achieve right now? That's the first problem. Some people have no clear plan. When they set a goal, we sometimes do not have a plan from where we are currently to the point of goal success. That's another problem. So, these challenges are just things that are common to so many people. and causes us to fail at achieving our goals. Having vague goals, no clear plan. Another reason is misaligned goals. Now, this one is very common because there's pressure. So, this misalignment talks about setting goals that do not align with your values or what you want as a person. So, for example, you have a friend who is maybe into tech. Everybody's into tech these days. But you are interested in biochemistry, or you're interested in music, or you're interested in art. But because everyone is into tech bro, tech sis, you set a goal to learn front end, learn back end, or learn product design, or learn system programming, or learn AI data science or something. And when you set that goal, when it becomes difficult, it's now harder for you to even progress because you never wanted to do it in the first place. You did it because you were pressured. So a very common example that trends is at a certain age, you become pressured to marry, or you become pressured to get a job, and then you start setting goals that are not realistic. And then when life hits you, because life is not a bed of roses sometimes, you fail to move on, to persevere past the roadblock because originally you didn't even really care about the goals. And then finally, fear of failure. This one is so common, yet we find it hard to admit it to ourselves. It's easier to just say, I won't try. There's a popular quote you hear, I think Michael Jordan that said it, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So some people actually, you can hear that quote and think about it like, okay, let me take my shots, right? Another person can hear that quote and think about it this way, like, okay, if I don't try, then I won't fail. A common example is you guys are applying for scholarships. We talked about scholarships yesterday. It's a long shot. It's difficult. You need to put out your best foot. Some people just scholarships is for the very smart ones. Is you never try at all, because internally underlying that lack of attempt is the fear of failure. So inevitably you don't even set the goal at all, or you set the goal and you don't try to make effort to achieve it. Now that we've discussed what are the reasons why people fail, let's talk about effective goal setting. How can we set effective goals? Now, effective goal setting has three major components. I'll be a bit faster now because of time. So, effective goal setting has three major components: the goal itself, like what do you want to achieve, right? And then it has external factors, things that are probably in your control, or external factors like you are a student, you are a worker, you have your job to do, you have exams to prepare for, or you are a business owner. The government can make a new policy that is going to affect everything you do, and you have to even rethink your goal. And then there are internal factors. These are the ones we mostly focus on most of the time, things that you as a person have control over, and it is totally in your power. Now, when you understand these three components and fix them, you will most likely have an effective goal. So now let's see the goal component itself. What type of goal should you set? What I'm about to show you now is so simple, it's so common, it's everywhere, yet people do not do it. And you might have seen it so much that when I show you now, you'll be like, I know this. But you should ask yourself, have I tried it? So use the SMART framework. It's very common. It's everywhere. It's used in software. It's used in life. It's used in sports. Everybody needs to have SMART goals. This solves the problem of unclarity. So your goals should be specific. What exactly do you want to achieve? I'm going to show an example as I go through this concept. What exactly do you want to achieve? You have to clearly define that. State it as clearly as possible. It should be measurable. For example, let me use this session I'm having now. My goal is to finish within the time allotted to me. How can I measure if I have succeeded? Did I finish within the time? Do you understand? My goal should be achievable. Achievable means I have to set a realistic goal. The content I have prepared, is it going to be covered in the time allotted for this speech. That's what they mean by achievable. Relevant, setting the goal that I want to finish within the time. How relevant is that to me? How relevant is that to my values? How does it align with my long-term vision? I want to be someone that keeps time. I want to be someone that is punctual. I joined the meeting a few minutes earlier. I want to finish on time. I don't want to spend more than the allocated time. So it's relevant to me. And then the goal is obviously time bound because it is related to time. But let's take another example from, so I work as a software engineer. So this is a typical goal that we have sometimes. So, but I kind of made it different so that it doesn't look like exactly, and I don't break company, what they call it, NDAs. Yeah. So, for example, look at this goal. So the colors, I tried to match it so that we could see what increase the daily active users. So the number of people that use our mobile app in a day from 1,000 to 2,000. How are we going to measure this? Obviously, once I check the number, has it increased from 1,000 to 2,000? Within the next 3 months. That's my time. So we have 3 months to move our number of daily active users from 1,000 to 2,000. We have something specific, it's measurable, and we have a time bound on it. Now, how can you evaluate whether it's achievable? Now, the achievable part is a bit tricky because it is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have to believe you can achieve the goal. If not, you will not even achieve it in the first place. So for a goal to be achievable, you need to see a path to the end. And then when you start achieving that goal, that might not be the exact same path you will follow. But then at the start, when you are setting the goal, you have to believe it is achievable. So here I said we might implement push notifications, personalized content recommendations, and a reward system. For example, if you use Spotify, you see that Spotify is always recommending music based on the ones you listen to. So the idea is to keep you using Spotify all the time. If you listen to podcasts a lot, they will always recommend related podcasts and stuff. So you see that this is very specific. We know when we have succeeded. And how valuable is this? The goal of the company is to this aligns with our company's goal of growing our user base. So obviously, if the company wants to grow their user base, this goal is relevant to them. So this is an example. So it's very simple. I'll urge you to, beyond this session, go back, study this SMART framework, try to rephrase your goals to follow this SMART framework and see how effective it will be. Now let's talk about the internal and external factors. Now I'll start with the internal factors, things that are within your control. Firstly, self-regulation. If you remember from the slide, someone talked about indiscipline. Self-regulation has to deal with all the things like discipline, consistency, persistence, resilience, all of that. In the psychological world, like psychologists call it self-regulation. So it's the idea of you need to be in control of what you want of yourself. Now, it's a whole session on this, but for you to have effective goals, you need to spend some time working on your discipline, working on your consistency, working on your persistence. Some things we are going to face challenges, you are going to face difficulty, but what exactly do you do? That's why you need intrinsic motivation. Where does intrinsic motivation come from? Intrinsic motivation comes from the fact that the goals align with your values. So you have some control. I want to do this. For example, you could decide that, okay, I want to learn how to play a musical instrument very well because I want to inspire people by my music, or I want to learn how to I don't want to keep thinking about software engineering examples. I want to learn maybe programming so that I could get a better job, or I want to learn AutoCAD or CAD design so that I could design the most comfortable cars or something like that. Once you have that value or aim that you try to achieve, it gives you that intrinsic motivation of where when things are difficult, you don't need to rely on other people. You can remember why you try to do the goal, and then have a vision. This is very important. This is not vision in terms of what you can see physically. It talks about seeing the end. Sometimes when you write your goal, close your eyes, see yourself achieving that goal, and just embrace that moment. Psychologically, it helps you achieve the goal when you are able to see the end. That's why sometimes you hear very successful people say they knew this from when they were really young. It's because you need to have that belief and vision in yourself. So now, on the external factors, these are things that sometimes are not in your control, sometimes are in your control. For example, your physical change from back pain in the long run and the physical aspect anyway, but it improves your productivity. Getting a laptop that is very good or a gadget that supports what you want to do. Let's say you want to learn how to play the violin. If you don't have the violin, how are you even going to learn in the first place? So that's why I said sometimes in your control, sometimes it's not in your control. But life is a constraint optimization problem where you basically have constraints and you're trying to optimize. So you need to figure out, how can I make my physical environment help me achieve my goal? You don't have a violin, but probably your church has a violin and they are willing to let you play if you're on the band. You shouldn't wait till you buy yours. You join the church. Do you understand? So you optimize within your constraints. Now, support. Support is very important because, and it can come from family, friends, your teachers, schoolmates. Support is very important because when something gets really difficult and your intrinsic motivation is not enough to move you forward, you need someone to be able to push you. And that's where you have good friends, you have your teachers. Most of us might have heard stories of very successful people where they talk about that one teacher that spoke to them, or that one teacher that was always there to encourage them. So you need that support. And finally, there are constraints. So external, like school, you want to learn how to play the musical instrument, but you must pass your exams in school. You want to do business, but the government can enact a new policy. And once the policy comes into play, it affects the whole vision and goal that you have. So you need to be able to work within those constraints. So all of this, when you take this into consideration, it helps you set effective goals. Now, you have effective goals. We've looked at why people fail. We've looked at setting effective goals. You've now set up some very effective goals. What are the common pitfalls that you would probably face? So it's not going to be easy. It's not a straight road. The first pitfall is too many goals. Now that you know how to set effective goals, the first thing you will try to do is do everything, because you will say, since I can do this, I can do that. Let me just, and that's the first problem. You have too much to achieve. You end up achieving nothing. Like this guy in the image, so many targets. He just sat down and he's upset, he's overwhelmed. So you have to learn to say no. There's this popular quote from Steve Jobs. He said one of his greatest power was being able to say no, and that's how you develop focus. So it's not even deciding what to do. Sometimes it's about deciding what not to do. And it still goes back to your values. What do you want? What are your priorities? You're a student. Your top priority is your academics. You need to get your grades right. You are a business owner. You need to keep your business afloat. Revenue before profits. You are at your workplace. Your top priority is your work. Yes, you want to study and upskill, but you have to work. So you see that you don't even have, because of life constraints, you don't even have that time to do too many things. The second problem is ignoring your progress. So, like these guys in this picture now, you see the guys in first to fourth, they're not as happy as the guy in fifth position. So, you have to recognize your small wins as you progress towards your goal. So, for example, when you start learning how to play the guitar, I think you learn some very first few chords, right? Justice, that's what they call them, those basic chords. You are not going to play any of Ed Sheeran's song or any of Travis Green's song. You won't be as good as that yet, but you should celebrate the fact that now you are holding your guitar right. You know the finger positions. You can read the guitar. You know what a fret means. You understand some basics. Celebrate those small wins. It motivates you for the next stage of the progress. Another issue is being too rigid. I want to achieve this goal like this. No, you cannot. This is very particular to startup founders. If you talk to startup founders, they'll tell you should learn to pivot, you should learn to change. And it's one of the things I learned last year. Evaluate yourself as quickly as possible and re-strategize. Change your style. In the corporate world, they call it agile methodology. It's like evaluate as quick as possible. Don't be too rigid. Don't stick to the fact that this is how I want to achieve this goal. So, for example, you say, I want to learn how to play a guitar. Over time, you realize that maybe your practice sessions in the morning are not very good. You are tired. You can move your sessions to afternoon or evening. Try something else. Be as flexible as possible so that you get to the goal, but don't miss the target. Then finally, comparing yourself to others. This one is a bit tricky because you need to have a certain standard for yourself, and to get to that standard you need to understand like what people have done, but then you still need to have that balance of not every time comparing yourself to people. Sometimes look back at where you started from and realize that you've made progress and be happy. Like this guy, maybe he was 20th but now he's 5th. He should be happy. Next year he'll probably be on the podium, first position or third. Yeah. So now we know some of the common pitfalls to avoid. Let's talk about what to do in practice. What do you actually do? In practice, write down your goals. I am a firm believer of pen and paper. Even for this session, I prepared these slides, but everything was written pen and paper first before I translated them into these slides. I am using the pen and paper notes right now. Pen and paper all the time. Write down your goals, crystallize it. What do I want to achieve using the SMART framework? Write it down. Yes, after writing it down, you can type it somewhere in maybe Google Keep or your notes on your iPad or whatever, so that it is stored digitally and you can access it anywhere. But write it down. What do I want to achieve? Think in terms of time frames. What do I mean by this? I use this image here so that you can see you have a whole year, you have your first quarter, you have each month, you have weeks, and you have days. You even have minutes, hours. You can break it down to the most minute level. If you work in finance, like banks and most of the corporate world, this will be very familiar to you. KPIs for the first quarter, KPIs for quarter, for Q2, like that. So what this means is that don't underestimate what you can do in 6 months. Don't cram everything into 1 month. Think about, okay, this is where I want to go. How can I want to learn how. I'm using the guitar because I was doing some research about it also. Or let me use some other example. Programming. You just want to learn how to program. I firmly believe it will take you, if you've never programmed before, it will take you at least 3 months to be good enough to start doing some projects. Do you get? So in your first 3 months, what am I doing? How am I understanding what the computer is doing? What does it mean for a program to run? Some little basics. And then break that 3 months into weeks. What am I doing this week? What am I doing today? What am I doing in the next 1 hour? That's where you celebrate your small wins. It's not, so think in terms of time frames. Don't always think about the target, what you want to finish. Rather, think about, that's the sole reason why school is supposed to be 5 years, but ASWA and all of that is because you cannot do everything in 1 year. You can try and cram your school into 3 years. It's very possible. So, but you need to always think in terms of time. Finally, track your progress. You can only track your progress if you think about it in terms of time. Today, what did I plan to achieve? That's why I like this 100 days of code that most people do on Twitter, and every day they are doing one little progress at a time, like that, till they finally get to the final position. So you should do that. Track your progress. Then find accountability. When it gets really tough and you want to give up, you need someone to be there to encourage you and say, bro, my guy, let's just move on. Let's try. You need that. So find someone. And this accountability part, it's a bit tricky because you can find another lazy person like you, and two of you give yourself excuses. So sometimes you might need accountability from the top. That's why there's exams in schools. That's why at your workplace there's one-on-one reviews. That's why in your business accountability is just there. If you mess up, you just lose your business. So you might not even really need accountability. But you see that the systems of life already bake these things in. So when you try to even optimize them for yourself, you find yourself going at a higher pace or a faster pace. Remember why you started. This is very important because I'm saying it and it looks rosy, like set your smart goals, do this, do this, do this, do this, do that. It's all going to be sweet and nice. No, you will wake up some mornings and you don't want to go to work. You don't want to read that textbook. You don't want to watch that tutorial video. You don't want to practice. You are just frustrated. At that point in time, remember why you started. So a good rule of thumb is when you are setting your SMART goal, there's something called learning intention. Write the reason why this goal is important to you. Write it down beside the goal. And then when you get really frustrated, because it's going to happen, I'm doing a master's program now and it's very difficult. Some days I just sit up and I'm trying to give you like human side. So it's not like the other person on the other side of the computer is a robot. Some days it's really difficult. They give you an assignment and you don't know how to solve it. You are just frustrated. But I just remind myself like, okay, I know why I came here. This is what I wanted to achieve. Probably, and then on to the next point, take a break. So these two, they are not exactly pushing the goal forward, but they are psychological, let me call it recharging, like battery recharge, something like that. So take a break. You are stuck on a problem for a long time. Take a break. Just walk, go see your friend, play video games, talk, play football, watch a movie or something, and that will help. So, in conclusion, we are at the final point now. So, let's do one Slido to get you guys. So, I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to open another question, and I just want you guys to tell me what is something, based on what you've heard so far, what is something you would have done differently in 2024? So just type in one word or in a sentence what's something you would have done differently in 2024. So just go to the same Slido. You will see the question up now. So I'll display the Slido code again so you guys can see it. What is something you would have done differently in 2024? Yeah, stop sharing, and then we conclude. So yeah, so just go to the Slido. The code is 3908573. 3908573. So you can just type what is something you would have. Great. So just set short-term goals, build consistency. Great. Believe more in myself. Nice. Yeah, that's also very important. You need to believe more in yourself. Okay. All right, great. So I'll just leave the polls open. Keep typing. Set goals as remember the reason I started. Great. Yeah, let me type mine so maybe you guys can see. Where are you? So something I would have done differently. So for me, I would have re-strategized quickly. I spent some time doing the wrong thing, like the wrong approach. I should have changed, re-strategized quickly, or not quickly, shouldn't be more often. Yeah, more often. That's my own something I would have done. Yeah. So let's go back to the slides. I just needed to get you guys involved. You can keep typing. I'll leave this. I should have set some goals. I didn't at all. Nothing even in New Year. Okay, that's fine. Thank. It's good that you're here now. You take these ideas and try to have a support system. Yes, very important. Group of friends, family that look out for you and always encourage you. Very great support system. Very nice. The speaker yesterday and we still talk like support system for each other. So it's good to have those things. I remember when we got to school together in 100 level and he used to talk about scholarship. So if you know Sam is always passionate about scholarship. He's telling you, Steven, do you know about this? Oh, time. Okay, let me. Yeah. So stop sharing and then yeah. So here. So in conclusion, take three things away from this session. However it goes, remember these three things when you leave. Set effective goals, like use the SMART framework. Track your goals and adapt. At the end of every week, check, have I moved forward? Why did I not move forward? What can I change to help me move forward? Don't do the same thing for 1 month. Do this thing every week. And finally, stay motivated. Talk to people, talk to your friends. Remember why you started always. Thank you and thanks for listening. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Steven. I learned a lot, and I'm positive we all learned a lot. Like
Yeah,
I,
thank you. Thank you.
yes, I'm grateful for the fact that you broke down complex ideas into simple points that give us new perspective on how to prioritize and stay focused in achieving our goals and setting lifetime plans, not just short-term plans, but long-term plans as well.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I really got value for all that you taught us today. I think I'm having one of these issues. Like I want to call it an imposter syndrome. After planning, setting goals and all that, doing the hard work, maybe at the tail end of all, I I now feel that probably I am not deserving enough for the result I'm getting. Stuff like that just brings all the hard work and everything down. So I don't know, how do I cope with this?
All right. The first thing I would say is dealing with imposter syndrome. You have to look at it. It's you have to look inwards, not even outwards. You have to look inwards. Like imposter syndrome is basically feeling like you are not good enough. You are a fraud. But think about what you said. You set some goals and you moved from the beginning of having no skill or whatever you intended to achieve, and then at the end you achieved that. One of the points I made in terms of was celebrating your wins, tracking your progress. So at each point, you should see it as, oh, I did this, I did that. So you have to, it's kind of psychological. You have to in, reward yourself for what you have done and stop looking outwards to people thinking you are not good enough. Look at the magnitude of what you've done and be happy about it. So sometimes you need to just there's count your blessings kind of. So look backwards. And then everybody feels that way when you are at a higher level, honestly. Once you get promoted at work or you are doing something way above. So having imposter syndrome is kind of a good pointer to the fact that you are actually making progress. So we can talk more about it, just but on the basics, recognize your success and count your wins.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Steven. We are so grateful. We really appreciate your time, expertise, and the passion you brought to this session. Please, I also want to implore us all to send our questions to Mr. Justice, the host of this webinar. I also have questions of mine that I would also send to him so that the speaker can answer all our questions. Thank you very much.